All right, so one of the central figures in the Murdaugh murders, crime, and corruption saga, whose role continues to be undefined yet speculated on ad nauseum, is Greg Alexander, police chief from Yemassee, South Carolina. Alexander is widely regarded in Hampton County as a fixer for the Murdaugh family, although he has disputed that. In fact, back in the spring when he was busted receiving a $5,000 loan from Alec Murdaugh, he went to Facebook after our news outlet exclusively reported this, and some campaign contributions also received from Murdaugh family members and law partners. Alexander goes on Facebook and says famously, "I ain't no cat. I don't cover up no doo-doo."
And I ain't no cat. I don't try to cover no doo-doo up, nothing up.
Which, by the way, is probably the best quote from the entire Murdaugh saga. But anyway, if you follow this news outlet, you know 3 weeks ago there was a big search of the Coosawhatchie River down in Hampton County, just south of Alameda, South Carolina. And we were told at the time that this search was tied to the Mizell homicides. This, of course, is the double murder of 52-year-old Maggie Murdaugh, 22-year-old Paul Murdaugh, in which disgraced attorney Alec Murdaugh has been accused of murder. So this is the big case in this entire Murdaugh crime and corruption saga. Now, as we were reporting on that story, not much information came out about the search. We do know it was tied to the homicides. We don't know what they were looking for, but we do know they didn't find whatever it was they were looking for. Nothing was found. According to our sources, the search came up empty. But as we're investigating that story, again, the rumor mill, as it is prone to do in this Murdaugh saga, just ramped up in intensity. And the reports we kept receiving were that this search was somehow tied to Greg Alexander and somehow tied to his alleged role in the aftermath of the homicides, perhaps as an accomplice after the fact. Now, from everything we've been able to tell, there is no substance to those rumors. Certainly law enforcement sources familiar with this inquiry, with direct knowledge of this investigation, have told us that's just not true. Just not true. But that rumor mill and that speculation has sort of revived scrutiny of Alexander, speculation about Alexander, has sort of dragged him back onto the stage, so to speak, from where he was back in March. So in investigating and researching that, we found some very interesting things about this guy. First of all, this is a guy who was at the heart of a serious corruption investigation back in 2010. He was actually indicted by the statewide grand jury and tried by the Office of Attorney General Alan Wilson in connection with allegations that he stole $10,000 from a police evidence locker. Now, Alexander was ultimately acquitted of these charges. He was found not guilty and was reinstated as a police officer. However, that money remains missing. And as we reported just this week, Alexander failed a polygraph related to that criminal investigation when he was asked about whether or not he stole the money. Failed the polygraph. But again, Hampton County, somehow he gets off. Justice works kind of strange down there. But the craziest thing that we've heard relates to his involvement in the Stephen Smith story. And again, if you're unfamiliar with the story of Stephen Smith, this is one of the true unsolved mysteries that relates to this entire saga. Stephen Smith, a 19-year-old Hampton County teen, openly gay, was the victim of an alleged vehicular hit and run, even though all the investigators in the aftermath of that found nothing to suggest a vehicular strike. Highway Patrol investigators. It was a forensic pathologist at the Medical University of South Carolina who claimed that this was a vehicular strike, and apparently her only basis for reaching that conclusion was that Stephen Smith's body was found in the road. But Alexander has a connection to the Smith story, and it's one that we had heard of, but until recently were unable to confirm, but we have been able to confirm it. We know that Alexander was somehow monitoring or tied or linked to the Smith family. We don't know who allegedly had him do this, But sources in Hampton have consistently told us that he was told to stay close to the Smith family. Now, how close did he stay? Well, we've been able to confirm that Alexander, believe this or not, fathered a child with Smith's twin sister, Stephanie. Stephanie Joyner is her name now. Again, this story, people, every time you think you've gone down the last rabbit hole, there's something new. There's something crazier. And so here we have this new development. Now, are charges close in the Smith story? We hope so. We hope so. But we have heard, law enforcement sources have indicated that they are not convinced that it was a Murdaugh that committed this crime, the murder of Stephen Smith. Now, again, no charges filed in connection with that case because it was originally misclassified. 7 years later, Sandy Smith, Stephen's mom, still looking for justice. But some shocking developments related to that case and this man, this police chief, this law enforcement officer, this alleged Murdaugh fixer at the center of the scandal, Greg Alexander. Folks, if you're looking for one place to keep up with this incredible web, to try to unravel it, try to figure out where the money went, who pulled what levers, keep it tuned to FITSNews. We broke this story, we've driven this story, and we will continue to drive this story as it moves forward toward a murder trial for Alec Murdaugh in January next year.